Good morning all. Thanks very much for your attendance today from wherever you are across Australasia. Appreciate your time.
Good morning. So just a brief introduction and a bit of information around today's webinar. So it'll be approximately 20 minutes long. So to introduce myself, Toby Broomhall. My focus at Monkeytoe is working with the construction end of projects, working with the builders and the end users. And beside me, got Heinz. Introduce yourself, Heinz.
So my role is working primarily with the architects and structural engineers, so on the specification and documentation side of things at Monkeytoe, so across Australasia as well.
Awesome. So the Xbeam design, will cover off a bit of information around that. You can see the Xbeam in the background there, platform. Xbeam applications, so where the product can be used and how it can be used. And we'll also have a question answer section. So feel free to pop in your questions as and when you feel.
Yeah, that's good. We love questions. So yeah, chuck them on as you think of them throughout the webinar, and we'll endeavour to answer them all at the end. So what is the Xbeam? The Xbeam's an aluminium carbon fibre structural beam. And being obviously an aluminium beam, it's extremely lightweight. So that opens it up to all sorts of opportunities and areas where it can be used. We'll obviously talk through a few of those today. Obviously with our background in plant platforms and associated mechanical platforms, that's primarily where the Xbeam came from. So there's an example there of a roof-mounted plant platform spanning between those portal beams, and obviously with the utilising the Xbeam. So as you can see, the Xbeam's an equivalent to a steel UB beam. So it's an aluminium I-beam.
Couple of statistics there for those that love them. 65% lighter than the equivalent in steel. 3 times stronger, 2 times faster, or greater, 10 metres. So just a bit of background to that. So when we talk about faster, we're talking about manufacturing times, welding, assembly, on-site installation, reduction in craneage, and the obvious benefits that come with a lighter product, especially related to building structures, existing structures, adding to them and not overloading them, and then the obvious benefits with a stronger product. So this project here, this photo here, it is a Xbeam installed primarily to support condensers and air conditioning equipment on top of a supermarket roof. So it's shown there with a stair up to it. It's got acoustic screening around it, and it's obviously spanning from portal to portal.
So a couple of comparisons here, I won't go through them all, but we're comparing the Monkeytoe Xbeam with traditional steel, so a traditional steel platform. So that first one there, weight per metre square, so as you can see the Monkeytoe Xbeam comes out at around 30 to 40 kg per metre square versus a traditional steel platform, which is around 80 to 90 kg per metre square. If we scroll down to that line 4 around load capacity, you'll notice there both the Xbeam and the traditional steel, we've got 2.5 and 5 kPa. So what we're saying there is, in effect, we're designed to suit the load requirements for the platform, whether that's 2.5 kPa, whether that's 1 kPa, right up to 5 kPa. So all designed to suit the requirements.
So greater than the sum of its parts. So there's a snapshot render of end view of the Xbeam. So AI is obviously aluminium and the C is carbon. So there is a series of extrusions which make up the Xbeam, which obviously opens up further opportunity to make the beam bigger, smaller, quite a variation available. And in the bottom and top flange, you can see where the carbon fibre is layered. So it's quite a bit of technology in the product, more than just a beam, so to speak.
So I'm just going to pull up a quick poll here, and if you can participate in that, if you will, that'll be really helpful. And we'll, in the meantime, keep rolling with this webinar. Appreciate your input, thanks. So just a brief slide here on how the Xbeam mounts. It obviously mounts back through to the portals below. So we have stubs fixed to the portals below, penetrating the roof, and the platform can get craned onto the roof and fixed back to the stubs. And obviously that load is transferring back through the building via the portals. This image here is showing it an example of a platform that we installed in Victoria, Australia, and that was craned into place in 2 completely assembled sections. So 2 sections to crane into place for that platform. So very quick and easy install, that one. So I'll just finish this polling here. Thanks for your participation.
Appreciate that. So portal connections, just briefly on that, pretty self-explanatory. You can see on the right there a installed Monkeytoe connection to the portal, protruding through the roof there. Several ways of doing it. Pre-drill the structural steel beam bolted to it. The middle one is showing the beam clamp application, so that's very simple and easy to do on an existing portal structure. So very similar to structural steel methodology. So
a bunch of test examples here. I won't go through them all again today, but that info can be provided. But in effect, we've provided it and undertaken a lot of testing to ensure its compliancy with both Australian and New Zealand building codes, Australian and New Zealand standards, different things like temperature testing and obviously ensuring it's achieving seismic requirements and so on. So all that data and testing certification is available if required. So this Xbeam platform focus is on a Coles store in Mount Gambier, Australia. This platform here was obviously spanning between the portals. Originally, in the original plans, the concept was for it to be fixed back to the purlins, a purlin mounted platform. As it came out, there were massive cost savings in fixing it back to the portals, and obviously looking at the steel option, the steel was not an option due to the extra loading that was going to be loaded up on those portals. So came back to the Xbeam being a nice lightweight solution which wasn't going to load up those portals too much.
So here's another project focus, recently completed one on the west coast of South Island, New Zealand. Hokitika, Westland Milk Products. As you can see there, it was an existing building, so loading up the existing portals was a very important consideration. Obviously, firstly, testing to make sure that they could withstand the loads of the new equipment and obviously the loads of personnel. So Monkeytoe were engaged to carry out the full engineering and design of this project, including the connections back to the existing structure. So that was installed over a 2-day period. So it was very quick, on site, assembled on the ground, craned onto the roof, and then the units lifted on.
So obviously the Xbeam platforms, Monkeytoe look after the complete design and engineering of those solutions. So whether it's your engineering compliance statements, producer statements, which obviously take into account the seismic requirements, and obviously as part of that, the full shop drawings.
Absolutely.
And for you architects and structural engineers on the webinar today, we do have downloadable Revit files and material on the website for you to download and make use of in your own drawings. So feel free to avail yourselves of that.
Just a couple of project examples there. Obviously renders, the image on the top right. So that's just your common plant platform on the likes of a big box store, your Bunnings throughout Australia, New Zealand. The warehouse, where you've got a bottom ducted package unit and a small service area around the unit. So you're spanning portal to portal, commonly 9 to 12 metres between portals. And that's a assembled Xbeam in the workshop, ready to be lifted onto a truck and transported to site.
So as a part of the Xbeam platform package, we also offer a range of screening solutions depending on your requirements. So a couple of examples here, the aluminium louver system, that's obviously designed and engineered as a part of the Xbeam platform system and can be powder coated depending on aesthetic requirements. And then acoustic screening. So we also offer the Hush Monkey acoustic screen. So we have got noisy mechanical equipment on the platform. We have an acoustic screening solution which can either absorb or at least reduce that plant noise from perhaps annoying the neighbours and so on.
So the message here is don't limit your imagination. So a bit of a shout out to architects, designers, structural engineers, anyone really. A couple of examples here. So bridged structures where you need a span between 5 and 10 metres. So the key advantage and benefit of using aluminium Xbeam is obviously corrosion, reduction of weight, reduction of the amount of structure required, because obviously with structural steel spanning great distances, you're needing a bigger beam. So you can see there on the top left, a stair tower supported by Xbeam. A couple other examples, raised mezzanine floor or container support structures. So yeah, just give us a shout. We can talk you through the options available.
So anywhere really where the existing structure may be on its weight limits or craneage, access may be an issue, all that type of thing, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So where we can assist really is obviously providing a complete design and engineering service with the Xbeam systems. And that can be either visiting site and meeting you on site or popping into your office and going through those drawings with you. And obviously, you know, a consultancy partner to provide that value engineering, cost savings, weight savings and so on. So feel free to have a chat. So we have a bunch of questions come in, so thanks very much for all those. It's appreciated, and we'll get through answering these. If you any more come to mind as we're going through these, please feel free to keep firing them through. Thanks.
So one of the questions, have we got a representative in Queensland? Yes, we have. Actually happens to be the boss's son-in-law is based out of Queensland office, so most certainly we can send that contact detail to you. Throughout Australia, Monkeytoe is represented in every state, and same goes for New Zealand.
So the next slide, we'll pop our details up there on the slide. So feel free to take those down and be in contact, and we can fire you through the Queensland representative's details. So this next question, are you actually able to cut the install time on site by half? How's this accomplished? Yes, absolutely. And that's by a variety of different ways and methods, I guess. But it primarily comes down to the fact that it's a lightweight structure. It means that a lot of work is enabled to be done on the ground. So the assembly work, installation of some of the mechanical equipment before it's actually craned up onto the roof and installed in place. So that cuts down on obviously working at heights, cuts down on safety issues and the like as well. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's right. Obviously related to craneage too. The fact that you can, rather than with a structural steel where you're lifting up a portal at a time, or a RHS or an I-beam section at a time, you're lifting a completed mechanical plant platform, often with the equipment on it. You're doing 1 or 2 lifts rather than 10, 20 lifts. So yeah, as Heinz said, range of ways to cut that time on site down.
Very good. We have an attendee asking, can you send the slide pack out to us? Yes, most certainly. We will send an email out following this with the slide and a copy of the recording if you've requested that, so no problem there.
Awesome. And how do we fix these stubs to existing structure? So obviously the roof does need to be opened up to expose the existing structure. Depending on what works best for the client and the most cost-effective way, there's 2 ways of doing it, is drill the existing structure and bolt to it, mechanically bolt to it. The other way is, like I explained earlier, is a beam clamp, using a clamp which picks up the underside of the flange.
We've got a question here. Are these beams able to be used for mezzanine floors, bridges and structures of a building? Yes, certainly for mezzanine floors and bridges. Then there was a couple of examples shown previously of where that's been the case. Anywhere really where weight may be an issue, so absolutely in that type of scenario. Another question here around the type of warranty given on the builds. So yes, we provide, or you may be able to say more on the warranty, Toby, but we provide a 25-year product warranty and a 2-year installation warranty.
That's right. Yep. And obviously related to the project, depending on the project specifications, what the project engineer is requesting, the design life and that sort of thing, is all taken account by our engineers.
Very good. Now, just a question here around the aluminium. What type of aluminium do you use? Does it require coating? So we use a T6, 6061 T6 aluminium. So it's a marine grade aluminium. And that obviously means it's suited for all sorts of environments and certainly coastal environments. And because it's a marine grade aluminium, it doesn't require a coating for its longevity or durability. Obviously it can be powder coated if required, but that's not an issue.
Another interesting question here, is the carbon fibre exposed to the elements? No. So the answer to that is no, the carbon fibre is protected from the elements. It is encased in the hollow extrusion in the bottom and top flanges.
Very good. Now we do have one more poll I'm just going to run now, and if you can please click this yes if you want a copy of the recording sent through to you, and we'll arrange for that today after this recording. Appreciate your participation there.
And thank you very much for the questions. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Another question here around so it's how the Xbeam's manufactured. Good question. So they're obviously manufactured in our workshop initially, and they are manufactured using a combination of obviously certified welding and structural rivets. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's right, Heinz. So yeah, it is we run a lean manufacturing process, and yeah, a series of different connections, whether it's structural rivets and welding.
Very good. Thank you very much for your participation. Thanks for your questions. Very much enjoyed it. Our contact details are up there on the slide just now, so feel free to be in contact with us, and we'll obviously be in touch with anyone that's asked us to be in touch. So thanks very much. Goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks for attending. Appreciate it.